1981 Express SR NX50M. Maintenance tips quickly. This is a 1981 Express SR NX50M Honda 50cc. Okay, so this is quick and dirty. We're taking the starter out. So my starter was turning over very slowly, would not start the engine. So before you go out and spend, I believe there's starters out there for $246, which is a lot of money for this inexpensive scooter. So we're gonna pull the starter out of here, and I've already done this. I've already cleaned it and sanded the commutator and put it back together, and it works now. So I was very happy with that. So you've got your stator cover. You loosen the bolts, and these two bolts are the starter bolts. So pull those out. Pull this out, and it's magnetized, so it's kind of, and then that comes off of there, and just let that hang down there. And then you can take this off, this wire off of that clamp that is on the starter, and then you can do this with the tire and wheel in there, but it's a little bit more difficult. Off there. Jimmy it up and out of there. So definitely take your fender off, because you will not be able to get it out of there. Let me see if you have any problem getting it out of here. Okay. Get your little rubber seal there. Okay, you loosen that screw, take that off, it's the positive, and then you got your negative, take that off. So that screw is out, pull that screw out, and that screw, and you pull the housing off of here, and it's magnetized, so it's not going to be easy. So you have that little picture right there. So the part that you want to sand is the commutator, which is that. And you just want to do it very lightly and go around it evenly and sand it until it's you know, copper colored. So also there's little grooves that go all the way around it. So if you take a little tiny screwdriver and clean those grooves out, just run it down through there, and take any debris or whatever. So when I took mine apart, it was all black and completely filled. The grooves were completely filled. So I sanded it around there until it turned copper color, and then cleaned out the grooves. Just pull the screwdriver back and forth in those grooves, and then you have your brushes. There's two of them, one on either side. So when you go to put the housing back over the top, you're going to have another person there to hold the brushes in, because they're spring loaded. There's a little spring behind them. So you're going to have somebody help you hold the brushes in there with a little tiny screwdriver on both sides, and then you can slide your housing back on there. Then there's one shim. So once you clean all that up and put it back together, put it in there, hopefully it'll work. If it doesn't work, maybe it's too far gone. I don't know. But I can imagine that you can go have these rebuilt. But there's only one place in the UK that sells this starter for this particular model, the Express SR, and it's $246, and that's a lot of money. belt replacement. You've taken that bolt, 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 and that bolt out. You've taken your Kickstarter bolt out and pulled that off very gently. And then you pull your, keep your finger on the Kickstarter shaft and rock that cover off. Because if you aren't careful, you'll pull the Kickstarter shaft out, which is spring loaded, and you can get all these parts back in there fairly easy, but just to avoid that. So you want to grasp this and pull it towards you, and then push with your fingertips the belt down into the pulley as far as you can to get enough slack to get the front of the belt off, like so. So this belt is a Napa 25 9290. They don't make they don't make an NOS belt for this. They don't make the correct Honda belt for this. So you have to do the Napa. Or Gates has a 9290 belt as well. So to put the belt back on, you need to pull that out and get that belt into that crevice as much as possible to get you slack to pull it over the front pulley. So, and also apparently to get a few more miles per hour, you turn the belt inside out, because the grooves are supposed to be on the inside, but you turn it inside out, and I mean, there's no reason why the grooves need to be in there. So anyway, and then you put it all back together, and you're good to go. Transmission oil, I guess you could call it transmission oil. It's not really the transmission, but so there is no engine oil, but there is this back here. So that's your drain bolt. Pull that out, let it drain out, and then undo this large bolt. And this is basically just 1040 for Honda oil, and I just put this little vacuum fitting on the top of it, and just squeeze it in there and kind of let it sit. What I did was tip the scooter to the side and pour this in here, and then kind of let it drain out, and just do that. Carburetor removal. I know that that's not very panned in, but okay, so you got two studs on the front side of this fender bracket. I've already taken the bolts off. So you've got two wire, you got that right there, there's a bolt down below here that holds the wires in here. So you want to move those out of the way. You've got your auto choke mechanism. So I pulled the one that goes, the small one that comes off of there, I pulled that one off. Because you need to get your 10mm wrench in there, your boxed end, to turn the nut. You pull your oil line off, coming off your oil pump, oil injection. And then you have your slide. So you unscrew the top, pull the slide out, try to not get in the way, put that out of the way. You've got auto choke on the other side, pull that one off, and then you can pull your carburetor out. You also have your fuel line coming down, which is that clear one right up there that I need to pull off. So the clear one coming into the top, and you should have a vacuum petcock on this model, so there shouldn't be too much gas in there. And then I leave this line on the auto choke because that's a plastic line that's going in there, and pull that whole thing out of there. And there you have your carburetor. So to get to your main jet, you undo that screw and that screw and pull your bowl off, and stock jet is 65 millimeters. So your auto choke mechanism, and there's your two studs and your O-ring. Okay, your electronics. So you got your diode, you've got your flasher, you've got your ignition module right there, you've got your starter relay, which looks like that when it's out of the rubber, and then this is just a generic flasher that I picked up, but I have a factory one on order that you can still get. You got your coil, you got your ground wire. So there's a, I believe it's a 10 millimeter bolt back there that you pull that out, you can finagle this whole thing out of here. So anyway, that's that. Fuel tank. You've got two studs that come down that hold the tail light on. You take the tail light off. You've got that screw and that screw and that screw, and then I made a battery box because it did not have the factory battery box. So you take the battery and you take that off, and then your petcock will be down below there, which looks like this. And you've got the fuel line, and you have a vacuum line, that one right there. So there's a 14 millimeter and a 16 millimeter, and this tank is the 14 millimeter because this is the 16 millimeter, and it's too big, and it has a little filter tube that comes off the top. So yeah, make sure you get the 14 millimeter because they advertise this one as well that fits the Express SR.